Good afternoon. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 33. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. What's going on, my sleepy friend?
What's up, buddy? I'm getting absolutely zero rest. I
wonder why that is.
I'm going to blame Kirsten.
You should.
Yeah,
extreme disownership.
Yep, that's it. Extreme distance. So she has. Well, I guess I don't know if you guys did this. I had forgotten that like the bassinet has to be like right by the bed for the first few months when mom is nursing.
I mean, that makes it ideal.
Yeah. So that's what we've done. And the bassinet is right by the bed. But that also means that like when the 3 a.m. feeding comes, that the baby wakes up and is cranky. And then mom wakes up and dad is like, okay, I'm going to roll over. Make sure everybody's okay and then roll over and try to get some sleep until the 20-month-old who had like the front of his crib taken off. So now he's in the big boy bed.
Yeah.
Gets real close to falling out of the bed and scares himself. And then I got to go in there and calm him down. And it's the joys of parenthood, man.
Dude, it's so awesome.
It is like the best thing ever between the hours of 6:30 a.m. and about 9 o'clock p.m. But from 9 p.m. to 6:30 in the morning, it's the most stressful and frustrating thing I've done in a really long time.
Yeah,
really long time.
Trying to get on that schedule and
get everybody to sleep. And I'm really looking forward to when Levi can communicate a little bit more. Like, hey, buddy, what's going on? Did you have a bad dream? Instead of just, just like the crying and the saying mama and dada and all that. But we're getting there. Cool. A little closer every day.
So I know we wanted to keep discussing what it has been like for me to work with the different incredible leaders that I've been able to work with and work for over the years. So who would you like to talk about today?
So we talked about Dave Burke at length, who to me is one of the most fascinating human beings on the planet just because of his resume.
Yeah.
And we decided that we were going to shift from these Q&As doing that because we were like, oh, here's a Q&A question that took 45 minutes for us to answer. So we shifted them to the episodes. Well, I got a little bit of bias, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody loves Jocko. There's a lot of people who know about Jocko, listen to the podcast. But I want to know about my fellow Texan. I want to know about the other blonde-headed bomber that is part of the cadre and the podcast team. He's kind of the more, I would say, the more silent partner in Echelon Front because he doesn't have his own supplement line and he's not out on social media doing all of the things. He is solely focused on building Echelon Front and those teams. And now with you guys with Bruiser Arms, I want to know about the South Texas or the Central Texas Batman. I want to know about Leif Babin.
Yeah, when you said the silent partner, I was like, what? I don't, because to me, I'm like Leif's not the silent partner.
Sure.
He, is very active with everything he's doing, but then as soon as he said like the supplement line and all the other stuff, he doesn't have because his focus is Echelon Front. And
his face isn't on any of my shirts.
Well, I think there is a shirt with.
It's
Leif's
just not on
face
any of mine.
Well, we need to change that.
All right,
we'll fix that.
I would totally wear a shirt with Leif's face on it.
Heck yeah, man.
Unless his face is the Bruiser Arms logo. Is that actually Leif's face behind the mask?
No, but
we could say that
the Bruiser Arms logo and some of the merch that we're going to have coming out. Ryan Kramer, I want to fight Lucas right now. So, okay. So, some of the merch that we're going to have coming out for Bruiser Arms is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's
I'm
going to
really
be cool.
looking forward to that. So, all right. What questions about working with Leif? Or do you just want me just...
I kind of want just like the rundown of what it's like, but I also...
Do you just want me riffing?
Yeah, sort of.
Riffing about Leif?
About Leif.
Is that the proper term, just flowing?
Actually, the proper term is riff.
Riff.
Yeah, R-I-F-F, not R-I-F-T.
So it would be riffing?
Riffing, yeah.
Really?
Riffing, yeah, because it's a guitar riff when you're riffing your... I don't know what it's short for, but it's R-I-F-F.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to show you these pictures.
Okay.
No,
I'm looking forward to
surprise
this.
You.
But I'm really interested in what your relationship with Leif was like in the teams first, because you were working on the eastern side of Ramadi, and if anybody's read the books or has gone to the muster or has had any interaction with y'all, one of the things that's talked about in Extreme Ownership and also in Dichotomy of Leadership is that kind of the eastern side of Ramadi where you were was really run by Seth Stone. And so Seth Stone was your platoon commander.
Yep.
but you had a lot of interactions with Leif, even though Leif was not only on the other side of the city from where you were, but also in the other platoon. Like the three guys, Jocko, Leif, and Seth, worked a lot, complemented each other a lot. So I was curious, first off, what your relationship was like with him when you guys were in the teams, because you also went to SQT together, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that's where our relationship started. So you're talking about riffing.
Yeah, riffing.
I had that meeting yesterday in Orlando, and the guy is a owner of dang, why am I drawing a blank right now? Hold on, wait one. It's military.
Riffing is actually not short for anything.
Huh.
Yeah. Yep. There is no long form of riffing, but it is to talk about a particular subject in usually a quick and lively way.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
The guy is a owner of BC Rich Guitars.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
Those are some psychotic looking instruments. Like BC Rich Guitars is who made the guitars for like Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look what's hanging in his office.
That is wild. Dude, that's crazy. So they make guitars that are like $200, and they make guitars that are like $20,000, and very little in between there.
Yeah.
Bro, that's a wild looking. All right, you're gonna have to send me those pictures so we can show our people on the YouTubes.
You want to see the original? You know which one that's for?
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Good grief. Okay. Yeah, those need to. Dude, that's sick. Okay. Yeah, those pictures need to be on the YouTubes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
now that you've given me guitar envy, tell me about Leif Babin's.
Well, Leif plays the guitar. So as we were talking about riffing.
Does he really?
Yep.
Him and Jocko both play guitars?
Yep.
Wow.
So Leif is from East Texas.
Yeah.
Met him in SEAL qualification training. I was 19 years old, and Leif was super old. I mean, dude
was he like 24?
He was like 27, I think.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I think so.
Oof. His face was caving in. He's barely able to be held together.
I know. How is he living life? And I, met Leif and Seth and Andrew, Paul, all in SQT.
Yeah.
And
so why was Leif so old going through SQT?
Well, college and then time in the military. He was in the fleet before he went to Buds.
Okay. So college would mean, did he go to school to be an officer?
Yep. So he went to the Naval Academy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Leif and Seth both went to the Naval Academy.
Okay.
And so you do your 4 years. If you're 18, 19, you're now
22,
23.
Yeah.
And then if you're doing, your time out in the fleet, that's 3 to 4 years. And then you go through Buds and then SQT, you're getting to that 27, 28 year mark.
Wow.
And
so that's when he was eligible to come into Buds, is like at 27?
No, because he didn't get selected for Buds originally.
Oh, okay.
And so neither did Seth. And so they went and did their time out in the fleet and then were able to get selected to go to Buds.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because like the selection process to get to Buds as an officer is, from what I know, is super tight. It's very hard. Like they only let a handful of people.
Yeah.
And then, they went out to the fleet and did phenomenal. They were in like legit leadership positions in the regular fleet Navy. So when they went to Buds, they were way more mature than all the other officers. They had actual time in the fleet Navy, like running legit, operations and commands and, personnel and teams. And so then they come to Buds and they're dealing with a bunch of students. It's like, all right, knuckleheads. And so, which was a completely different leadership challenge. You're dealing with students going through a selection training program. But Leif was always super professional. Now, would he joke and play around with the guys? Yeah.
Sure.
But I remember Leif was very good at keeping the difference between like, hey, I'm a U.S. naval officer. Like, we have standards to uphold. I am the senior man here. I'm in charge of this stuff. Like, he took that stuff very serious. And I remember as a 19-year-old kid, like, I appreciated that. I actually like really looked up to him and was like, oh, that's cool. It was never for me, viewed as a negative thing. It was like, oh no, hey, he's a senior man. He's a class OIC. He's the officer in charge of our SQT class. And Seth was number 2 because of, his time in the military, time in rank. And that's how the military does that stuff. And so going through SQT, Seth and Leif and Andrew were all awesome. They're great leaders. I definitely posed leadership challenges to them. I was
for sure
one of those guys that was a leadership challenge.
Even though you were baby faced.
Well, that's why So on one of the origin videos they came out, and I think they're it'll be more. It hasn't been released yet, but that's one of the things that Leif explained during that thing. Was one of my nicknames in SQT was Baby D.
Yep.
And I was a young kid, and I look back and I'm like, oh man, I was such a knucklehead. But I had good leaders like Leif and Seth and Andrew and all the other officers, and some of the senior guys like Derek Dickerson and Ed Byers and my buddy Dustin Severs and all these guys that Ty Smith and Ray Mendoza and AJ James. These guys that were all older in their time in the regular military and time in life. Like these guys would help me. They would give me guidance and direction, and Leif was always really good at maintaining the balance between, hey, we're bros, like we're going through training together, we're going to be in the SEAL teams together, but I'm also the officer that's in charge of this class, and we're going to get the job done and do what's needed to be done.
Okay, so he's kind of y'all's, like you said, sort of is there a valedictorian of SQT? Right, is that just kind of...
No, so we'd have an honor grad when we graduated BUDS. Now it's different. Now you go through BUDS, jump school, SQT, and then there's a SEAL qualification graduation.
Oh, wow.
When we went through, when you graduated SQT, it was private in-house only. Like no family, no friends were able to see it. Oh, yeah, you got pinned your trident. That was in private. And when they did the pinning parties, that was a private thing. It was... A lot's changed, not for the better, not for worse. Jocko and I were talking about this at the muster, and I'm like, man, I wish we would have kept the tradition of the pinning parties. Like that was a legitimate thing in the SEAL teams.
Sort of an initiation into all of it.
Yeah. There's a lot. The pinning parties were epic. I mean, they were. I'll just say epic.
Yeah.
And it was also like this rite of passage. Like, hey, you just got done with all the training. You're being welcomed into the brotherhood by all these other SEALs, and it's only SEALs there.
Yeah.
It's only SEALs. Now it's like all the family's there and people are coming in town, and because everyone has all their family and friends in town, like visiting, there isn't a pinning party. Like that went away. When they changed that, which I hate, that all went away because what are you going to do? Like, hey, appreciate you guys all coming in town for this big day. See you guys tomorrow. Like, so it's definitely changed. Again, not for better, not for worse. I don't like it. I think, the way that we used to do it was really cool. You graduate from BUDS. That's when your family and friends are there. And then now you go through jump school. And then you, go through SQT. But now it's cool because the evolution of training is jump school is now included in our SEAL qualification training. So we keep that training in-house as part of our pipeline, which is really good. Because we now have more qualified guys that are checking in the teams with free fall and static line, which is great.
What is static line?
Static line is where it's like when you look at the old World War II videos, or like you see like guys jumping out of the airplane, and as soon as they jump out, it goes, the parachute's there, and it's just that round circular parachute, and they're coming in. That's static line. You hook, literally, there's a line that goes to your parachute. You hook that onto a cable in the airplane. You jump out, and as you jump out, it pulls that line out, which opens the chute, which brings your parachute out, and then opens up, and it takes about 4 seconds, because when you jump out, you're like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, open, right? And when you're saying open, it should be like pulling you open.
Gotcha.
And then
so
then you're just floating. That's what Big Army does.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the Band of Brothers style. Like,
yeah.
Have you seen
oh
that?
yeah, like when
thing.
Rangers take down an airfield, like it's a static line. They're not free falling in. A free fall is like skydiving. Yeah, where you can control and you can steer and you can control when you pop means when you pull to open up. And so now that's all a part of SQT, which is great.
What is, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but what is your favorite jump? Do you prefer the static line or do you prefer the skydive?
No.
Really?
Heck no. Static line sucks.
Okay.
Because you can't control your landing. You can't steer those things.
Oh man.
You're literally going. That's why
you're at the mercy of the wind.
Yes, and you're you're at the mercy of the jump master that was calling the wind and saying, "All right, base off of here. If we jump here, you'll hit that drop zone. Jumpers hit it," and they're just like everyone's just like jump, and you're just floating, hoping you hit the drop zone. And not the trees or the fences or the vehicles or the buildings.
Or get shot down by the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Static line sucks.
Okay.
It sucks. Like, it's just, it's a control. Like, if you were to jump off a 2-story building and it's like, hey, here's how you need to land. Like, that's what it's like every single time.
Oof.
Yeah. It's literally just, it's supposed to be feet, knees, hips, shoulders, head. And it just depends on the wind and it's a bro.
Sounds like a good way to get injured.
Oh, every class
really
has people that are injured for sure. Like it's crazy. Every class is an ultimate.
But still, it would seem
I think it's extremely high. Like I would not be shocked if someone was like, the statistics are 99% of every airborne jump school has a major injury. I'd be like, that's about right.
Yeah.
Because
because of the static line jumps.
Yes. Concussions, broken legs, broken arms, broken hips, broken ribs. Like, it happens. It happened in my jump school. In my class, we had multiple, like, fractured femur. You're just like,
boy, that's a rough one to come back from.
Yeah. We had guys hanging from trees, like, that got stuck in the trees.
Yikes.
Like, guys collapse the parachute below the guy behind him, and then he's having a break away and then pull out his reserve, and then the reserve opens right as he's hitting the ground. I'm telling you, as soon as I did my qualifying jumps for static line, like after school, and then you have to do some more when you're in the teams to be able to get your sled. Yeah. Did not do any extra other than that. Like nobody got it. Hey, we got these extra jumps. You're like, I'm good. Like, hey, we're doing static line jumps. I'm good. Cool. Hey, we're doing nighttime static line jumps with gear. Nope.
You guys have fun.
Hey, we're doing
infirmary.
Static line jumps in the water. Okay, so guys would try to do those, like, because you have to maintain jumps to maintain your pay.
Right.
So you're always trying to avoid it until like the very last minute. You're like, all right, I got to go do these jumps. And you're like, I'm praying we do some water jumps. Right. And even then, it's still like
brutal.
Well, yeah, because you get tangled up in the lines. Like, you're like, please don't drown. Please don't drown. Static line jump is not fun. Like,
yeah, it seems like the least ideal.
I have some pictures from me and my buddy Wes in our first platoon with Seth getting ready to do a jump. And Seth was just like, I do not want to jump out of this airplane. And so Wes and I are like, trying to make him laugh. Like, I don't know who took the picture. Leif might have taken the picture. I don't know who, but my buddy Wes was like sent that to me, and it was comical. I actually I was in SQT, I think, because first platoon Leif was at Team 5. So yeah, going back to Leif. We get done with SQT.
SQT, yeah,
and then he goes to Team 5. I go to Team 3 with Seth. And Seth and I are in Delta Platoon doing a workup deployment. Mm-hmm. During the workup, we did do some training with some of the guys from Team 5 that Leif was with. Okay. And then we come back from that deployment, and then that's when Leif got brought over to SEAL Team 3, Task Unit Bravo. Jocko becomes our Task Unit Commander, changes our name to Task Unit Bruiser. You know,
which is the Hackworth trick, right? Yep. From Steal My Soldiers and all of that, where give them a name, something other than just the call sign.
Yeah, to give them an identity. Yeah. And that creates a culture. And so Jocko did that with us. And Leif was the officer in charge of Charlie Platoon.
Okay.
And so you had Chris Kyle and as his point man and lead sniper over there, and I was a point man and lead sniper in Delta Platoon under Seth Stone. And, initially, Jocko's talked about this a lot. he didn't have a friendship with Leif and Seth because he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna have to fire these guys. I don't know what I'm gonna have to do. Like, I've got to see and evaluate these guys and what's going on. And then from there, he was able to, develop really good friendships to where Seth and Leif were like his bros. And Seth and Leif were super close. I mean, they would go surfing all the time. They would hang out all the time. They created the patches behind Jocko's back for our deployment when they're out in the middle of the ocean surfing. Like, hey, I think we should I feel like this deployment's going to be legendary. We should create some patches. And Seth's like, yeah. And so then they went back to their house. They lived together,
Right.
And so, but yeah, and when we were doing our workup, some of the guys in Charlie Platoon would always joke with me. They're like, you're in the wrong platoon. You should be over here with us and, Leif and everything. And I always had that great relationship with Leif and those guys. But there was like zero chance I wasn't going to not be with Seth. Right. But the guys, it was just like joking, like banter between the two guys. And
the competition of brothers.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
But I've mentioned that to Leif before, and Leif's like, bro, he's like, there was zero chance Seth would have ever let you out of leave.
Yeah, you weren't
There's
going.
zero chance I wanted to
Right.
leave Seth. But if I was to leave anywhere, it would have definitely gone to be working for Leif, for sure. Leif and I have always had a really good friendship, but I feel like I've been always able to maintain like, hey, you're an officer, I'm enlisted. Like, I always kept that professional boundary there because when it came time to work, like, we were getting the work done. And, we had that really good relationship between our two platoons. And there was times that we would blend our platoons for training and trips and stuff like that. And so I always looked at Leif as one of my bosses as well. Even though technically he wasn't, I always have viewed Leif as one of my bosses. Because in SQT he was.
Right.
And in Task Unit Bruiser, I always looked at him and Seth as equals. And it's like, well, if I'm giving Seth this respect and this admiration, I should give it to Leif as well. And there's nothing I wouldn't have done for Leif then and still to this day as well.
What was he like as a combat leader? Like, that's one of the things that is so veiled, I think, for those of us in the civilian ranks is, we hear these stories of guys who are in combat, or maybe we're reading somebody's memoirs. This we've talked a lot about this year. For me, I'm going through a lot of like World War II books.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm reading the memoirs of some of these guys. I just finished up Chuck Tatum's Red Blood, Black Sand, where he's talking about his time with John Basilone and like what he was like. And even though their relationship was kind of indirect, the way that Basilone conducted himself in battle had a lasting impression on not just Chuck Tatum, but on all of the men who were at Iwo Jima, those that were part of, the group that he commanded, and those that, were part of the guys that he trained, as well as everybody else. Mm-hmm. So when we think about Leif, like most of us that have any kind of relationship with him, our relationship is through the lens of extreme ownership, right? From the stuff that we've read in the book Extreme Ownership, from the stuff that we've read in Dichotomy of Leadership, where he's talking primarily about his lessons learned, maybe some leadership failures and things that he went through, areas that he found were opportunities for growth for him that have helped reinforce the 4 laws of combat so that, he's able to teach those kinds of things. But as a combat leader, even though you weren't directly under him, what was he like as a combat leader?
He was awesome. There wouldn't have been one time during that deployment that if I had to go over and do an operation with Charlie Platoon, I would have had any reservations.
Yeah.
I would have been like, check, Roger, on my way over there.
Right.
Like, zero issues. And Leif cares. Like, Leif is one of those guys, like Dave Burke and I have always talked about this in depth, is like, Leif is one of those leaders that you just know cares. He cares about his people. Like, he deeply, deeply cares about his people. And he's one of those leaders that truly wants his people to win more than he's winning himself. Like, he wants the best for people. And he was always like that in the SEAL teams. He always had high expectations of himself, had high expectations of his guys. And at times that can, cause a little friction if you don't properly communicate that. And to my knowledge, Leif always did a good job. Leif always did a good job communicating that to his guys. And it also, they had a really good culture in Charlie Platoon. Like Charlie Platoon were a bunch of freaking studs.
Yeah.
Like it was a bunch of, like, we call them pipe hitters, right? Like
Right.
they're just like, dude, pipe hitting studs. Like they're just freaking studs. Those guys were war fighters. Those guys were sled dogs. And where do you think that culture came from? Well, it came from the leadership, and who was part of the leadership? Leif. And so Leif was very much a part of letting his guys run stuff, letting his guys take ownership. But Leif also is a hands-on leader. He likes to be a part of things. I can relate to that. I also like to be a part of things, not in a micromanaging aspect. I don't, and that's something I work on and struggle with, is like, how do I find the balance between not micromanaging, but being hands-on to be a part of what we do?
Right.
And I think Leif probably has always struggled with that as well. And when I say struggle, I'm not meaning it in a negative manner, just like he likes to be hands-on, and that's something that he's got to be mindful of, like we all do as leaders. But from my observation of seeing what I saw in Charlie Platoon, he empowered his guys. I mean, he let his guys take lead. He let his guys take ownership. He respected his platoon chief, like, at a very high level. He respected his senior enlisted guys at a very high level, and was always like, hey, what do you guys think we should do? Hey, what do you think about this? And if they came up with ideas that he didn't agree with, again, to my knowledge, from what I saw, and then from what I also heard from guys, he tended to do a really good job at asking questions and getting clarification and alignment. So, working for Leif was freaking awesome. And I mean this in the utmost respect towards, like, Seth and what I was able to do in Delta Platoon. I wish I could have worked more with Leif in combat.
Yeah.
It just wasn't feasible, obviously, on that deployment. And I have buddies that, he went to SEAL Team 1, and he got, because of his seniority in the Navy. The Navy's crazy. I love when we work with companies at Echelon Front. We're a leadership consulting company.
Sure.
And so when we work with companies, they'll be like, well, you don't understand the bureaucracy of this big company. I just chuckle. I'm like, have you ever heard of the U.S. Navy? Like, you ever heard of them? They're kind of big.
Yeah.
A lot of personnel.
Yep. Also, technically
lot of people.
A government entity. We created bureaucracy. I think this is sort of our bag. This is our wheelhouse.
This is our specialty.
Yeah.
Hey.
You can thank us for that word, actually.
Hold my discipline, go.
Yeah.
Right? I got
exactly.
this.
Exactly.
Like, he got passed up for, like, he wanted to be a task unit commander. Mm-hmm. And there was like, nope, too senior in rank and time in Navy, blah, blah, blah. And so he went straight to being like the ops O at the SEAL team, which he was not happy with that. So you have a guy who's a gunfighter at heart, now as an operations officer of a whole SEAL team command.
Yikes.
It's a big step.
Yeah.
Big step. He did awesome there. I have buddies that were at Team 1 that worked for him that still are like, bro, I love Leif. Leif was awesome. Dude, Leif kept me in the Navy. Leif fought for me. Leif went to bat for me. And, and he also had to correct some guys with their screw ups. But hey, You're in the military. You make a mistake. Guess what? There are some things your leadership just can't protect you from.
Yeah.
And Leif was always a very fair leader as well. Like, very fair. And
I think that's one of the things that may be surprising to people, because when we think of
guys like Leif and Jocko, you're just like scared.
Right, like the voice, right? Because I told you the very first time I heard Jocko's voice was not on his podcast. It was listening to on the audio version from my library, because I was like, I don't know about this extreme ownership. I'm not going to buy the book. I'll listen to it for free on the library app. So I don't know if I want to support these jerks. So I'm listening to Jocko's voice for the first time, and then Leif comes in. He's like, Chapter 2, Battle of Ramadi.
Yeah.
This is Leif Babin. I was
no
like,
bad teams, only bad leaders.
What is this?
Yeah.
Right, but especially like when you hear that voice and the intensity with which they're telling the stories, and you hear clips of them on the podcast, you think everything that they're saying is the good speech, right? And that's really not the case. Is that, there's an intensity and there's a drive behind everything they're doing, but their ability to be diplomatic, to be able to know, like, when is the time to turn it on and get your troops fired up, and when is the time to, like, have the discussion of, like, hey, these are the things we got to get done. Yeah. Let's do it from an administrative standpoint, is not something that most of us in the civilian world put together, especially with that dude's Batman voice.
Yeah, it's his voice. It's like, you look at him physically, you're like, the dude's a stud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
His
like,
demeanor, persona, like the whole thing.
Like, he could be a very intimidating guy. Him and Jocko are very intimidating guys if you're only looking from the outside.
Yeah.
Once you start to talk to them and listen, you're like, oh, these guys are super intelligent. Leif's intelligence level is like extremely high.
Yeah.
Like Jocko, Leif, Dave, it's
High IQ guys.
yes.
Yeah.
And high IQ guys that can also throw down. That can,
Which is terrifying.
yeah. It's really like epic if you think about it. Like that's what the American fighter. That's what our nation is. You know, it's guys like Jocko, Leif, Dave, like Tasking and Bruiser guys, the Dave's Marines, like our U.S. military as a whole. Like we have intelligent people that also know how to throw down. They know how to fight. They know how to work hard. They know how to build relationships. They know, like all the things that make our nation great. And, so yeah, Leif can be intimidating if you're only looking from the outside. But once you start talking to him, you're like, oh, this is super intelligent. He cares. He's actually listening to me. Mm-hmm. He'll actually have back and forth conversations. And, one of the things that we always like joke about at the muster is like, hey, when you're in line to meet Jocko and Leif, Leif's line always takes way longer than Jocko's. And the reason why,
I know exactly. I was sitting right in the front row as his line is going.
so why is that?
He talks to everybody. And he's so intentional with the conversations. I mentioned somebody on back in, this would have been probably episode 007 that we did, where we're talking about Muster 017.
Yep.
I mentioned that there was one of the instructors who did a role play with somebody who was in their line. It was Leif.
Yeah. It's unreal.
I don't know. I don't think we need to do like another plug for the muster in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but it's if you want to know about it, go listen to that episode.
Yeah.
It's absolutely unbelievable the amount of attention they give to the people that come through those lines.
Yeah. We could open it up and sell probably another 500, 700, 1,000 tickets, but we're not going to, because then it would take away from that.
Sure.
And we want people to, have the ability to interact. The ones that want to interact, we make sure that happens.
Yeah, it's insane.
So,
to me.
and that was driven from Leif. Like that was his thing. It's like, hey, we want to interact with everybody that wants to be here. We will stay and talk to every single person. We will answer all the questions. I mean, it's just incredible. And that's who Leif is. Like, that's how he's always been. And, Leif's always good at reminding me, like, hey, JP, we got to make sure we're propagating the story properly. Like, as we build and grow Echelon Front, meaning, like, somebody comes on board Echelon Front right now, you got a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
If you come on board as an instructor, you've got an incredible deal. What people don't understand is, like, hey, for years, Jocko and Leif did free gigs. Years of free gigs, bro, just to get some little traction.
Yeah.
And then they wrote Extreme Ownership. When they wrote Extreme Ownership, what happened to them multiple times? It was rejected by multiple printing companies.
No doubt.
This will never work, blah, 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 like all those things. And they're like, okay, no, well, we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to do the right thing. Leif's always been a guy that's like, hey, no, we're going to get the work done. We're going to put in the work. We're going to get the work done. And, it's just, he's very efficient with his time. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot going on. He's married, 3 kids, just
running multiple companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his wife is a full-time journalist.
Yeah.
On top of everything else. Yeah.
It's crazy. He uses the principles that we teach, and that's why he's able to do what he does. And I highly, highly, highly respect this with Leif is able and willing to have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
Not once has he ever not had a hard conversation with me that needed to be had.
Right.
And what's cool is there's a few times that I was actually like, hey, I understand your perspective. However, this isn't wrong. This isn't right. It's wrong. Here's what was actually going on, blah, blah, blah. And we'll talk through it. And his response is, Roger that. Sorry. Hey, we needed to talk through some stuff. So instead of avoiding hard conversations like most humans do,
right,
most leaders do that. He was like, nope, let's talk through stuff, because he wants to make sure he has alignment. And he's really good at giving coaching and feedback. Like, hey, JP, like, hey, next time, like, this is happening, like, here's something to think about. Or, hey, next time this happens, like, hey, if you could just do this, I would really appreciate it. And I'm like, cool, check, roger that. I remember we were doing an event together, and I kept saying a word that wasn't real. Like, it was literally, you know how I make up words sometimes?
I've never noticed.
Shut up. I'll fight you.
Do you remember what the word was?
No, I can't. I asked him one time. He's like, man, I can't remember. But he actually pulled me. Like, so we're doing our thing. Do a break. It was a full day workshop that we're doing with Liberty Fracking. I remember where we're at. I remember the hotel. I remember the gas station that we walked over to get some beef jerky and water and snacks before the event. And so we do we kick it off, and we did take a break, and he's like, hey, you keep saying this. That's not an actual word. And I was like, oh. He's like, not a big deal, but just want to give you that feedback. If you can correct that, you should probably could.
If you could use a real word.
If you could actually use English, you dumb, and so.
You Neanderthal.
So he was always really good with that. And one of the things that I still haven't fixed, I don't know if I'll ever be able to fully correct it and fix it, but I know I'm very intentional about it. And I give this feedback to everybody. Like literally everybody that speaks or does podcasts or I'm around, I always give this feedback. He gave it to me, and he's like, hey, you say right way too much.
Oh, man.
He goes, you don't have to say that. He's like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to add emphasis to what you just said, but when you do that, it actually takes away from it. So instead of saying right, just pause and then move on to the next thought.
I used to do this in my sermons all the time.
Right? I'm just kidding. So it's so easy. It's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
And he gave me that feedback real time. Like real time. Jocko was actually talking. We were off to the side, and he tells me that, and I'm like, oh. He's like, just something to kind of finely tune and tweak up. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And it was really cool. Again,
that's awesome.
He's a great leader. That's what good leaders do, and that's what good friends do as well.
For sure.
Why would you not tell me if I'm making a mistake? And
especially if it's a mistake that has the potential to make you look foolish in front of people. I think that's one of the things that the Hard Conversations framework has really helped me with.
Bro.
Is that in particular, because like there are like small things like saying right, or somebody who has too many ums in a presentation or something like that. And as we're giving feedback to church planters or to other folks who are wanting to speak publicly or those kinds of things, or people that we're mentoring, those little things like that tend to really be significant changes that they can make that elevates them a lot more than like some of the harsher and more like personal criticisms, like, hey, you say right too much, or I knew what you meant by this word. Everybody else knows what you mean, but you need to use a real word, or you need to make this word a focal point that you take and define and say, hey, this is a word we've created for this specifically, and like make it a thing. But you've got to do one or the other. And that's really cool. I'm curious. So like you had this combat, so you go through SQT with Leif. Yeah. You have this deployment in Ramadi.
I go to trade it. He goes and takes over the training of the junior officers. Okay. So when officers go through training, they go through BUDS, and then they go to a junior officer training, and then they go to SQT.
Okay.
So that's what creates the separation between the BUDS classes. Seth and Andrew and Leif were BUDS class 241.
Okay.
I was class 242, but we all went through SQT together. So I was behind them in training. So
while you're going to BUDS, they're going to this junior officer training?
No.
Okay.
So I am in doc. They're in first phase.
Okay.
They go to second phase. I go to first phase. They go to third phase. I go to second phase. They graduate BUDS and go to jump school.
Mm-hmm.
I go into third phase. They graduate jump school and go to the officer training program while I'm going through third phase. So the timing, we're literally just doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
Until officer training school is done, I graduate BUDS we all now start SQT together.
Gotcha.
They created that so that the officers could have leadership development and training, because once you get to an SQT, that's the advanced SEAL qualification training.
Right.
So technically, you get done with SQT, you should be enough of an asset to where when you check into a SEAL team, you could deploy.
Yeah. Like if you got called up the next day, you'd be ready to go.
And there were guys on our deployment. Now, they didn't go out on a lot of operations, but we had guys that were a week or two out of SQT, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, SEAL Team 3 needs guys in Ramadi.
Good
They're
grief.
getting sent to Ramadi.
Man, like right into the mess.
Now, again, very minimal what they were
Sure.
doing, because those guys didn't have a full workup. They weren't, Ramadi was a different beast. Now, guys that went to other areas of Iraq right after SQT were able to jump in and do great things and have some good experience and everything. And so, I mean, think about the advantage those guys have. Boom, you get done with SQT, and then all of a sudden you go straight overseas and you have a full deployment under your belt. And then you do a workup, and then another deployment. You're ahead of the power curve.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So we had a couple guys that were able to do that. But so that was what creates the separation. So
It makes sense.
when we get done with Ramadi, I go back into task unit Bruiser.
Mm-hmm.
Seth was our task unit commander now, so he had taken Jocko's position.
Okay. And Jocko is at trade at this point?
Yep, Jocko's at trade at, and Leif is at the officer training program, running all that training.
Okay,
and
so
he completely revamps that training.
Yeah. So Jocko and Leif are not like pushed out. They're not old. They're like, hey, you guys did.
It's just a different training command.
Well, it was, you went from being frontline in this battlefield to, hey, what you guys did is what we need now at the training facilities.
Yeah. Because the next step was, okay, what do you do in the team? Do you stay at the team? You go as the operations officer? Like Jocko was like maybe going to be ops O, maybe XO, maybe CO. Like it was like they weren't really sure what was next. But remember, Jocko had been a prior enlisted guy.
Yeah.
So his time in the military he had been in
Extensive.
for a very long time at this point. And so he went to trade it to give back. Honestly, he went to trade it to give back. He could have done anything, but he chose trade it so that he could help revamp, change, and prepare our guys for war.
That's awesome.
And Leif chose to do the same thing.
Yeah.
At the officer training program, he could have gone and done a lot of other really cool stuff, but he was able to go there to actually like give back. And I think he was also, I think he didn't have like a major injury, but he got shot in Ramadi. And so I think maybe part of that was him healing from that gunshot wound.
Sure.
Which is funny. I just say that casually. I'm like, yeah, he was
Yeah,
shot.
he got shot.
I think he was just kind of,
Sweet.
he's just being a little meow meow and taking recovery time.
That's what I think of when I think of Leif. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Don't fight me. But yeah, he went and he completely revamped that training.
Yeah.
It was incredible, and one of the things that they would do in that training, I think it was when they finished out the training is, because they were doing like runs. He would go for runs with the guys. He would go for swims. He was
It's
like
always about runs
just
with you.
pushing. Well, we'll talk about, we'll see what Rob Jones has to say about this. Yeah, you don't want that heat. What are you gonna do? You gonna make excuses to the guy that Lily has to put his legs on to go for a run?
I'm gonna take his legs.
He has a few different pairs.
I'm gonna just hide them all. I'm gonna turn them all off.
He's just gonna waddle at you.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
It is.
He's so strong.
He is extremely strong, dude.
I was watching videos of him doing something the other day. He was like, he put on like special things onto his stumps so that he could like put the Christmas lights on his house, and like climbed up the ladder with his arms and had. I was like, yep.
Rob Jones is a special human.
Yeah, no doubt. And like super positive attitude about the whole thing. And I was like, well,
I got to meet his mom at the
I hate
muster.
you. Oh yeah, how is she?
She's awesome.
Yeah.
She's, shocking, right?
Right.
Rob Jones' mom is awesome.
Yeah, hyper positive guy.
Who would have shocked?
Yeah.
Or who would be shocked?
Yep.
Okay, so Leif, he just revamps that training.
What's going on there.
Makes it super intense, prepares these guys to actually be able to lead. And it was, that program completely changed because of that. So Jocko changes trade it. Leif changes the officer training program, and then he goes to SEAL Team 3 as an OPSO and then gets out.
So when you come back from Ramadi, like you're getting out of the teams around the time that
I did not get out of the teams after Ramadi. I went to trade it.
Well, right. So you come back from Ramadi, you go to trade at,
Yeah,
you get
for a
out of the
couple
teams.
years. Yeah, get out of the teams.
So you get out of the teams, and this is around the time that you get out of the teams is when these guys are kind of starting EF.
Yeah, so Leif had been out for, I want to say, a year or two before me.
Now, did he retire?
Nope. No, he did not do his 20. So in order for you to retire from the military, you have to do your full 20 years.
Good
20 years
grief.
plus, or be
It's like the post office.
or be medically retired.
Okay.
Which means somebody like Rob Jones was medically retired from the military.
Yeah.
Cowie was medically retired from
Gotcha.
the military, which is crazy. He was medically retired from the military, but there is a time that the military didn't pay him his disability pay, and he had to reapply for disability pay.
Oh, good grief.
Again, talk about bureaucracy and
yep.
just stupidity. You're like, hold on. How's a guy who got medically discharged from the military for gunshot wounds in combat not to tell me how he's not qualified for his disability pay again?
Well, JP didn't fill out Section 3 of Form 487. Like that's what it comes down to, right?
What it came down to.
Something like that. So when you get out, you're still looking for the next thing. We've talked a lot about like you're trying to take care of your family. You have this dinner with these folks, and then all of a sudden you're working sales for a trucking assets kind of company, doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, financial company that bought account receivables that had to delay the pay.
Yeah. So when you hear, hey, Jocko and Leif are writing a book, is that something that surprised you? Like Jocko was a literature major, so I'm sure, and has talked about how much reading he did, when he was around you guys, and how much like he wanted y'all to do it. Would make the leadership read. He would give them reading assignments. He would make them do jiu-jitsu with him, which is what he did with a lot of the guys that were part of that command staff, but he didn't necessarily do with the enlisted guys.
Oh, he had some
there's like some insane things that he made
it
them
was
do.
Awesome,
which is incredible.
I can't wait for Leif to come on the podcast and share that. But there's a time Leif talks about it that Jocko said that whoever wins the jiu-jitsu match between Seth and Leif got the early promote.
Oh, dang.
Like just straight up fight to the death.
That's amazing.
I think they fought each other for 40 straight minutes.
That's awesome. That lets you know they won it, right? So
I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's what's lacking from society in general.
That context in particular.
I mean, we're in the SEAL teams.
Right.
Like guys should be doing that.
You're war fighters.
Yes, they should be doing that.
Yeah.
But just think about just the mindset in that alone.
So freaking Spartan, though.
It's pretty awesome. Oh, you want this promotion? Fight to the death.
Yeah.
Whoever wins gets it.
Yeah, that's it.
And they're just 40 something minutes of just straight murder on the mats.
Perfect.
And but they're both spazzy white belts. So spazzy white belts for 40 plus minutes of just.
That's have you heard? I don't know if I've ever sent this to you. Have you heard Theo Vaughn's description of jiu-jitsu? It's amazing. The short version of it is that the first time he heard about jiu-jitsu, he thought it was a dog, and he was like, "Oh, cool! You got a Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
Yes.
That's awesome." And then he's like, "If you haven't seen it though, it's like two guys are trying to find a raspberry in each other's pockets, and neither one of them's got it." That's how he describes jiu-jitsu. And I feel like certainly when it comes to spazzy white belts, that's exactly what it looks like. It's like it feels like when I take one of Levi's toys and put it in my pocket, and then he's trying to fight me for it. Yeah. That's what I think I look like whenever I'm rolling.
Yeah.
Is that so? Were you anticipating that Leif was going to be an author? Jocko, because of what he majored in, and his interests, writing seems like it was something that, especially coming from a musical background and all that kind of thing, writing seems like it's something that, with all of those things in consideration, probably not very shocking. Jocko decided to write a book. Okay, that makes sense. Is that something that you expected from Leif? When you found out Leif was writing the book, what was your reaction to it?
Nerds. No, just kidding. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
It didn't shock me. It didn't
Really?
surprise. No, yeah. It did not surprise me at all. Just because I knew the level of intelligence and education that Leif had.
Right.
And, I mean, yeah, I just was like, oh, cool. I should probably read it. I mean, sorry for the super basic response, but I wasn't like, well, why are they writing a book? Or, I wasn't like overly like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. This is going to be the best thing ever. I was just very like, oh, that's cool. I should probably read the book that they wrote. Because if they wrote a book, there's probably a reason behind it. Because I also know that the personality of Jocko and Leif isn't to get out of the SEAL teams and write books about being Navy SEALs.
Yeah, there is not so there I was up to my neck in grenade pens.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. There's not a lot of that in there. It's primarily like, hey, this is something that we failed at that almost got people hurt. This is the lesson we learned from it. This is how you can apply it to. This is the principle. This is how you can apply it to business, right? So those, like that format has worked really well, and I think it's so wonderful for leaders to see that. And one of the reasons that they talk about that it was rejected is because people didn't know if you could take the leadership principles that you learn in combat and apply them to an HVAC company or something like that. But the thing is that it's basic principles. They're not talking about the tactics of running a SEAL team or a SEAL platoon. It's about the things to
universal leadership principles.
Yeah. So what was the evolution of your relationship like? Like when we look at the way that you get involved in Echelon Front, and we've told this story before, right? Seth Stone sends a text to Jocko. Jocko has you on episode 46.
Yep. I go out to the muster, and then I'm on episode 46. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you end up working kind of on contract with Echelon Front and like doing stuff whenever you can.
Yep.
Is that the first time that you interacted with Leif again? Was it like on some of those events at Echelon Front?
I saw him when Chris was murdered.
Okay.
And then from that,
which we didn't talk about on the episode, that you actually spoke at Chris's funeral?
Yes.
Thanks for leaving that out.
Sorry.
Now, I would love to hear what you some other time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got it.
I'm sure it's on the interwebs.
Yeah, that'd be.
I just read so it wasn't like I gave this speech. I read the letter from his parents to him. Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
So you saw him.
Taya asked me to read that.
Yeah. So you saw him at Chris's funeral.
Yeah. Saw him at Chris's funeral. And then I saw him at the muster 001.
Yeah. So how many years were there in between that? That's a couple, right? Chris's funeral was 2014.
2013.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Was 2013, and then I saw him October of 2016.
Okay.
At the muster. I don't think I saw him at anything else in between.
Have you guys talked at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just seeing each other at the muster, it was awesome.
Right.
I mean, it was great to see each other again. To be honest, it's funny. Like I think I told him this. I know I had said this to Jocko. I was like, hey, I think, because when Jocko was like, hey, come out the muster, I want to bring you on board, in my mind, I literally had it made up that Leif was mad at me.
Really?
Yeah, man.
How come?
Why do people make up lies in their brain?
I don't know. Lots of reasons. Why was this lie?
Insecurities on my part and guilt of getting out of the teams.
Yeah?
It's weird, man. It's like Jocko said that he used to tell Seth all the time, the devil is a liar.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I literally made these things up in my brain. And I remember talking, because, when I saw Leif at Chris's funeral, obviously it was very somber and we didn't like really talk, and there wasn't a lot of like.
You were pretty sick too.
Yeah. So there wasn't a lot of like talking and hanging out and, oh, bro, it's so good to see you, and how's the family? Like there wasn't, you know what I mean? Like Leif was devastated. Like we all were, but Leif was.
They were close.
Yeah, it was.
He's still pretty close with Chris's parents, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very close. And so there was a heavy burden there that Leif was carrying. So it wasn't like we were able to really talk through stuff. And so in my brain, I just thought Leif was like pissed off at me over something, or I don't know. Like, but that's not Leif's personality though. That's what's comical and sad. More so sad, but I say comical now because that's not Leif's personality. But I had created this in my brain. It was the same reason I pushed Seth away for a while and other guys, is because I felt guilty for getting out. And I thought Leif thought less of me for getting out and kind of abandoning the boys and not being in a platoon and going back overseas. I don't know why. Again, when I say this out loud, I'm like, this makes me feel uncomfortable saying it because that's not Leif. That's not his personality at all. And so I remember leading up to the muster, like actually talking to Jocko about it. I'm like, hey, I think Leif like might be like pissed off at me, or I don't know, like what's, and Jocko's like, Leif is fired up to see you. Like Leif loves you. Like Seth loves you. Like, I don't know why you would think that. I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, I think you're making that up.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Roger. And then literally the very first moment I see Leif, it's like big hug. How have you been? How's, tell me about your family. You know what I mean? It was just like, do. And it was like we had been back in the teams again. Like no time had passed.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what's the evolution been like working for Leif in particular, right? Because I don't want to misrepresent this is the word that I'm looking for. I don't want to misrepresent this. It seems like you have more direct interactions with Leif than you do Jocko over the course of like a week or a month.
Yeah, I do.
Right? Not that like Jocko is not somebody that you communicate with, but you seem like there's more direct communication with Leif.
Yeah.
Right? So what's that evolution been like going from, all right, so from war fighters together to where, you were on opposite teams, but not opposing teams, opposite teams of the same task unit where you're kind of in the, like we talked about, the brotherly competition with one another. You both get out, you've read Extreme Ownership. Now you see him again and they're like, hey, we want you on board. And so now he kind of enters into this like boss / coaching role for you.
I mean, he's the president of the company.
Yeah.
And
so what was that?
He helped negotiate the initial conversations of me coming on board. He's like, we got to figure out, like, are we paying you? Are we paying, Never Settle Consulting? Like figuring out all the business legalities of it. And, Leif was very in the weeds at the beginning of building the company. You have to be, right? Owners of a company, owners of the company. You've got to be literally in the everyday operations of your business until you actually have a full team in place.
How, like from the get-go, right? How many hours a week do you think those guys were putting into building this business?
100 plus.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay.
Think about this. Okay, well,
like, I mean, it makes sense.
Well, I don't know if that's accurate.
But I think that there's a difference between like active working hours where you're like sitting in the office and then that's how I always split it up. Like, hey, I worked 70 active hours this week where I was doing something like either at my computer or reading something or whatever that somebody can point to be like, oh, he's working. Mm-hmm. But okay, so when I'm not active working, right, when I'm taking Levi on a walk in the stroller or we're playing at the park, like my brain is not shutting off.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about all of those things too.
I made a social media post earlier in this week about like hours worked and stuff like that. And, there's comments like, every minute, every hour.
Jocko's comment, I think, was all of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Right.
And it's funny, like, people can question that, but it's like, I don't know, man, that guy's probably pretty close to that.
Right.
With what, and I know his calendar. I know what he's doing.
Yep.
But to your point, like, when you're not doing it, but you're thinking about it, that's not work. You're not working your business. When I'm talking about working your business, it's like, hey, are you sending emails? Are you talking to people?
Right.
Are you doing client development?
Those active hours.
The active hours. So I would say probably 60 to 70 at the beginning of active hours. And that means, you're engaging with clients, you're doing calls, you're doing sales.
5 12-hour days a week minimum.
So
that's what that is,
bro. When we're doing the muster, those are 18 to 20 hour days.
Yeah,
of us working.
By the way, you're terrible at returning text messages when you guys are at the muster.
Yeah, sorry.
I just want you to know that it's a serious character flaw that I see in you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But that's a legitimate. Putting in 14, 15 hour days. At the beginning of them building the business that's a light day for them. And then they start writing Extreme Ownership. So now you're putting in the writing, the editing, all the negotiations of all the book stuff, and then you add in all the speaking that's growing, more demand, flying, traveling, prepping, reading books. Like, there's a lot. I think definitely during the peak, those guys were putting in 100-hour weeks for a very long time. but that's what's part of what's needed to build a business. Stephen Little's dad commented on that post, and he said at the beginning of him like building his businesses, 100-hour weeks.
Yeah.
That's sucks, but it's part of it, you know. And you know, those guys put in a lot of time, and you know, Leif put in a lot of hours, and he was very intentional with that. And so the evolution of working with Leif at Echelon Front has obviously evolved as my position has evolved, as Echelon Front has evolved, as a team has grown and evolved, as I've grown and matured. And
Right.
you know, a lot of my professional growth has come from Jocko, Leif, and Dave. And Jamie, you know, like those four have definitely given me that professional guidance and maturity. You know, Jamie's husband, Flynn, who used to work with us, like same, you know, came from Flynn as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, people like from the outside, like Pete Roberts and, you know, guys like that, and Sal, and like that I'm able to reach out to and talk to and have really good relationships with. Definitely have been able to develop, you know, different aspects from those guys. But Leif has always been very intentional with making sure that I'm getting the growth and the guidance that's needed, the coaching that's needed, the feedback that's needed, and then giving me ownership, literally just giving me ownership over anything and everything I want to do. His thing is always like, hey, I want you doing what you want to do, JP. What is that? You know, do you still like doing this? Do you want to do this? Do you want to shift this? Do you want to build this? Hey, do you want to do a training command? I mean, he started Bruiser Arms for him and I to be able to, you know, build up that company for shooting and training and being able to like provide that type of stuff because he knows how much him and I both love doing that stuff.
Yeah.
He literally started that company for me to be able to do that with him.
That's too cool.
So he's a very intentional human.
Yeah. So this has shifted from like, okay, so officer in SQT and combat leader from our sister platoon, you know, book author, boss to now, like it sounds like a pretty rich friendship.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the friendship's incredible. Again, I still feel like I do a good job making sure that there's a clear line of delineation. Like, hey, when we're at work, it's, yep, hey, boom, roger that. Yes, sir. And, you know, and then we'll have conversations where we can kind of bro out, and which is always nice. Like, we'll send each other messages, and I'll just be like, oh my gosh. I'm like, hey, make sure you don't watch this around your kids, you know. And, you know, we're just able to have those like funny conversations, like nothing obviously inappropriate, but just like, hey, this is funny. Your kids probably don't need to hear it, but, you know, you'll find humor in it. And then we'll just go back and forth. And like today, you know, he was on a 20-mile ruck that he was doing. And,
you guys are so disgusting. Somebody asked me today if I was going to start rucking, and I was like, no.
Why not? Why would you want to ruck?
Because right now, because I need to sleep.
Well, okay. Like, I mean, whatever.
That's number one.
That's kind of valid.
But I am fascinated by the ruck right now because most of the workouts that I'm getting are like whatever I can kind of squeeze in, right? So it's not a lot of gym time. It's like a lot of push-ups and stuff at the house.
Yeah, do some EMOMs. EMOMs with push-ups, sit-ups, squats,
right? So
jumping
I'm thinking
jacks.
it would be good to get either a weight vest or something like that to do.
Let me remind me. I will reach out because, you know, we have a good relationship with obviously Jason Kalipa. We talked about him.
I've heard of her.
And dude, you're going to get your butt whooped by one of these guys one time, and I'm just going to sit back and go,
well, it's earned.
What happened?
Yeah.
You earned it. Like I earned my, like at double five when the black belts beat up on me, I earn it because I'll straight up call them out.
My mouth often writes checks that my rear end is not prepared to cash, but afterwards, as long as it gets us plenty of views, like I'll be fine.
I'll tell you, man, I rolled with Jason Kalipa.
Stud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a very...
I mean, he's a multiple-time CrossFit champ.
Yeah. And as a purple belt, so you put those two together, we had two brutal rounds.
I think the closest I'm going to get to being a purple belt is if I accidentally put something in the wash with my white belt.
You're so stupid.
I think that's what's going to happen. Anyway, back to this. So you guys have built this relationship, but you still have these... you know, lines of delineation.
Yeah, like today we had like legitimate work stuff that we need to talk through, but he had a 20-mile ruck scheduled for today because he's going to go do this ruck with Peter Attia. And they've been training together, and so him and I, he told me like, so yesterday we talked through some stuff.
And rucking, for the people who don't know, is hiking with a bunch of unnecessary weight on your back.
So stupid, bro. What I was going to say about Jason Kalipa is I was sitting on a plane wearing one of his Train Hard shirts.
Yeah.
And this guy comes on, and he has a Go Ruck backpack in front of him and behind him. Like, so he has two of them on, and he's
Right.
carrying another one. But it was for his wife that was walking in front of him. So it was one of her bags. I'm
That's
like,
what would
"Oh,
happen
cool."
if my wife and I went on a ruck
Yeah.
together. I would end up just carrying
Just
hers.
carrying this, yeah. And so I'm walking out, and he's like, nice shirt. He's like, you know Jason? I'm like, yeah, I know him. He's like, yeah, I do too. And I was like, cool, man, nice to meet you. And so we're kind of like talking. I take a picture of him with the stuff, send it to Jason. Dude, it was the freaking president of Go Ruck. And I'm like, dude.
And you're just kind of like, yeah, I sort of know Jason.
Well, I wasn't like trying to be
yeah,
rude, but I don't know. Like, I didn't recognize who the guy was, and I was,
His
obviously
face is
being
also not on
polite.
his merch.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know. So ended up talking, and Jason connects us via text. But I waited after the flight for him to get off and introduce myself to him, because he's still, he's in the military, and the guy's super nice.
Yeah.
And so what I was gonna say is, Jason was like, hey bro, if you want stuff from Go Ruck, let me know. Like, their stuff's awesome. Leif uses their shoes, their ballistic Go Ruck trainer shoes. He says are incredible for just all day, everyday use. And then so Leif is doing rucks with the Go Ruck. And they've got awesome gear. So what I was going to say is, if you remind me, I will get you a Go Ruck. I need to get myself one, so I will get you one so we can start rucking together.
All right.
And then what you can do,
I'll push the double stroller with the Go Ruck bag on.
exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Like, you got to take your kids for a walk.
Yep.
I mean, you get to take your kids for a walk. You
All
go
of
do
the
that.
above. Yeah.
Yep.
Both of those things.
Hey, if you have to take a phone call that doesn't require you to be on Zoom, like on the phone.
Do you pace when you talk on the phone?
No, because now I just go for walks.
Okay. Well, that's
If I don't have to be, so I would, but if I don't have to be inside the house, if I don't have to be in Zoom, if I don't need to be typing up notes, if I can just put the notes in my phone and then transfer over, and that's what I did with Leif today. And then I had a call with Cody, and then a call with somebody else as well.
Yeah.
And so I put in 4.5 miles today with the weight vest on while talking to these guys. And it was good.
He has a 20-mile ruck today.
He's probably finishing up with it pretty soon.
Let's call him. Call him on there. Hey, how's your? We were just talking about you. How's your ruck?
You're on the air. Wait, really? You want me to do this?
I mean, there's no reason not to, right? In an entire episode that's been dedicated to Leif Babin, it would be a bit of a shame if we didn't get some Leif Babin on there, especially if he's like mid-ruck.
Well,
there's no reason.
This is like a flip of a coin of how this can go.
50-50. If I called him, he would definitely not answer. There's no way he's got my phone number saved. There's a 0% chance. I love that this is happening right now. I'm like holding my breath in between rings. I'm like, oh, is he going to pick it up?
You've reached Leif Babin with Echelon Front.
Oh, there we go.
Catch you in a second.
Oh.
What up, JP?
What's up, Leif? How are you?
Good, man. Just walking to Jiu-Jitsu. What's going on?
Oh, you're done. Oh, well, I was actually bragging about you on my podcast, how you're doing a 20-mile ruck. And Lucas was like, hey, you should call him. And while we're doing the podcast, because we're doing an episode talking about you. And so not only did you just get done with a 20-mile ruck, you're now walking into jiu-jitsu. So that's awesome.
Well, I'm just rounding kids up, though. I can't take credit for going hard.
Dude, that's amazing.
I can't take credit for going hard.
You just
I
did a 20-mile ruck. That's awesome.
I'm doing this.
All right. Well, we just wanted to check in on you, see how that ruck went.
It was good to go, man. It was good to go. It was. It's a good time to zone out. Good time to make phone calls. Good time to listen to podcasts and sermons, and just kind of suffer through.
That's so awesome. Hey, what's the ruck that you're doing with Peter Attia? Like, what are you training for again?
Yeah, unfortunately, Peter's injured. He's not really participating with us, but he's. It's a Go Ruck event in Normandy, and they've got a whole bunch of them. But the one we're doing is the 80K, which is it's an 80 kilometer ruck on the 80th anniversary. So the actual landings are June 6th, and we started June 1st and finished at June 2nd. But you have 18 hours to complete 80 kilometers, which is like just under 50 miles.
That's unreal. Okay. Awesome. Well, sorry to bother you. I know you're busy.
Come join us, dude. Let's do it. Get Lucas in the mix.
I wish I had a picture of his face right now.
You do. This is all happening on camera.
Yeah,
we do have a picture of my face right now.
That's amazing. All right. Well, hey, tell the family I said hello. I'll talk to you later tonight, boss.
Also, yes, sir.
I'll do it,
All right. See you. Bye. That legitimately. We could be done with this podcast, and I would be so happy right now.
You know, I make the worst suggestions of people for you to contact. In this.
That could not have played out better.
50. All right. Okay. I don't know how that's going to work, getting away from the house with a 2-month-old, especially since I've got some speaking gigs at the end of the month that I'm going to have to go for. But if I pitched it to Kirsten, hey, I've got to go to Normandy and ruck for 50 miles, I bet she'd be in. I got to update my passport.
Okay. What?
Last question before I puke.
So is that not just also kind of encompass everything we were just talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? He got done with a 20-mile ruck, and now he's coaching a kid's jiu-jitsu class.
Yeah.
And then follows it up with, so I'm not really getting after it hard.
And again,
all you guys are from outer space.
His thoughtfulness.
That's what I've determined.
His thoughtfulness. Hey, you should join. Get Lucas to join us. It's just like...
There is a certain amount of this, and I don't want to... this is not a fanboy thing, but this is
it's an admiration and respect for him being a good human.
Well, so I do not anticipate that, or I say anticipate, I don't expect, one, that these guys listen to the podcast, or two, that they care about in particular, because I'm not associated with Echelon Front, right? You can give me that look if you want to, but the truth is they don't have to. And there are a lot of organizations where, hey, so-and-so is doing a podcast, because we produce over a dozen podcasts here at the church.
Yeah.
Right. And the amount of organizations where somebody from a company is doing something for the company, and they don't know, the owners of the company don't know who the co-host of the podcast is. They have no idea about the production staff and team. They don't even know how much money they spend to do it, to rent the studio time or whatever. They're just like, no, this is a thing that this guy handles. I know we kind of have a podcast and that it's doing well or whatever, and they're handling it. They don't know any of that stuff. That speaks to everything. Is like not just that, but then there's the very uncomfortable invitation to go ruck with it. So last question as we kind of wrap stuff up. If somebody asked you to just describe your relationship with Leif, and they were like, hey, you know what? We each have different kinds of friends, people in our lives, or whatever. They came up to you and they were like, earnestly curious. They just said, hey, who is Leif Babin to you? What would you say?
Well, I would put him in the category of a big brother that I know loves me and cares about me and wants me to win. And when you're in that position, there's going to be times where you're going to have hard conversations. There's going to be times that you're going to sit and listen. There's going to be times that you give people guidance, you give them coaching, you give them mentoring, you teach them skill sets, you listen to them, you encourage them, you love them, you show them that you care. Like that would be my relationship with Leif, like it was with Seth and like it is with Jocko. Like I am extremely lucky for the relationships that I have gotten to have with my leadership. And the fact that I still have that relationship with my leadership it's almost kind of like unreal. It's not a common thing. I know that. And I get that.
Yeah.
So I look at it as a loving, caring older brother that wants me to win, that wants me to be successful, that has my best intentions. And that's what I remind myself of, like, hey, Jocko and Leif want me to win. Just like Dave Burke wants me to, just like Jamie Cochran wants me to. And the problem is, Leif and I were talking about this at the muster. We were talking through some stuff. And he told me this comment, and I was like, it's incredible. He told me this quote. He was making a comment while we were talking. And friction is created in vacuums. And, that would be the answer to the question that you asked me. Is like, hey, why do you think Leif was pissed off at you? Friction is created in vacuums. Because I hadn't maintained a relationship with Leif, since I hadn't talked to him, since I hadn't reached out, since I hadn't done any of these things, I assumed the worst, which would be him being mad at me, him being pissed off at me, him, thinking less of me for getting out and abandoning the boys. Friction is created in a vacuum. And Leif said that quote to me to remind me, like, hey, JP, friction is created in a vacuum. We need to make sure that we're doing what we teach at Echelon Front and reaching out to people and having consistent relationships and communication and problem solving together. And there wasn't this issue at Echelon Front, but it was, again, that's what good leaders do, is they have these conversations to remind their people. Just like we have these conversations at every FTX with the role players. Hey guys, you represent everything Jocko and Leif has created. Every conversation, every comment, every facial gesture, everything. Everything you do is a representation of Echelon Front, which is what Jocko and Leif created. So we don't have inappropriate conversations with clients. We don't say inappropriate jokes. We don't do these things. We are professional because we are a professional organization. We are the premier leadership consulting company. That is factual. We provide the best leadership training in the world. And the reason why we do that is because we are professional and we have high standards and high expectations. There's nothing wrong with Cody and I reminding the guys of that every single time.
Yeah. And
that's what Leif was just reminding me of, just having the conversation. Again, no major issues, but it was like, why would you not have that conversation? It's a great talking point. And, that's what Leif has always done for me, and he does at Echelon Front. And that's what he allows me to have the lifestyle that I have with my family because of the opportunity that him and Jocko gave me, which I am forever indebted to Jocko and Leif. Because of that.
That's pretty incredible, man.
Yeah. So with that, talking about Echelon Front, before I close it out with some final thoughts. So on June 11th, I will be doing a full-day leadership event. It's a full-day Echelon Front leadership workshop here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that is open to individual ticket sales. So you can come solo, you can come with a small team, you can come with a large team. It don't matter. It will sell out. So make sure you go to the show notes anywhere that you're listening to this podcast. The link is there. It is posted there. It is going to be certified through TCOL. For all of Texas first responders. We'll be able to get training credits for that, which is awesome.
Yep.
Thank you for helping make that happen. I know you and Cody, I told you about this training and what we wanted to do, and you and Cody were on it. So thank you. Thank you, TCOL. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, they're incredible, man.
Incredible organization. And the PD that's hosting it, it's Flower Mound PD. So shout out to Flower Mound PD for helping host the training. If you're a first responder and you want me to come out and do one of these events in your area, let us know. We can help facilitate that. So I just want to thank all of you guys for the support. I have some final thoughts, but before I do that, I just want to thank you guys for listening, sharing, subscribing, commenting. For all of you that are subscribed to us on YouTube so you can be notified when our YouTube exclusives come out, we appreciate it. When you guys listen and watch on YouTube on your TVs, it's awesome. That actually has a massive effect for us. Yeah. It's crazy how much more that helps us. So all of you that have been doing that, and then I know those ads at times can be a little unique, but for those of you that actually listen to them, thank you as well. I was watching one earlier that I was
YouTube ads.
But hey, cool.
If you want to solve the problem of foot fungus, apparently there's a YouTube ad for you.
Yeah, that brings it back to the Bible, which is pretty incredible.
Pretty rough.
If you're not following us on social media, and if you'd like to, I am at JP Dinnell, 2 N's, 2 L's. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard, Lucaspinkard. As we've talked about Echelon Front multiple times, make sure you're following us on social media. That's at Echelon Front. Go to our website, echelonfront.com. That's ECHELO. Oh, wait, hold on. Ooh, I blended that. ECHELONFRONT.com. Love to see you guys at a future event, or for myself or one of our instructors to come work with you and your company. If you want, you can also check out the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast that I do with the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu crew. You can follow us on Instagram. That's at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA. It's a ministry I'm a part of with Isaac, Tawa Effa, Stephen Little, Josh Strasburger. Doing those events about every 5 to 6 weeks at a different gym. Pretty awesome. We do a free jiu-jitsu seminar. Somebody shares their testimony, and then we open it up to open mat for some awesome training. I am a partner of a Texas beef company called Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
Yeah, dog. My best friend Stephen Little started the company back in 2017. My wife and I partnered with them in early 2023. The website for that is littlecattle.co. It is our name, but as a website. So littlecattle.co. We can deliver beef anywhere in the lower 48. And we also, if you would like to send boxes of beef to customers, clients, friends, family members as a gift, if your kid is like my kid, our kid, Aiden Tremble, who's graduating from high school in 3 weeks. If you have somebody that's graduating from high school and you want to send them a unique gift, Little Cattle Co. has got you covered. Anyways, we can also add in custom handwritten notes for you. You can send us letters and or notes, and then we will add them to your boxes as well to make sure it's custom and just show your appreciation anytime throughout the year. Also partner with my best friend Josh Strasburger for a printing company called On the Path Printing. On Instagram, we are at On the Path Printing. And we talked about Bruiser Arms. It's a company that Leif created for him and I to create and deliver awesome training in regards to the firearms industry. And also we have some pretty cool setups that we are putting together. So if you're like, hey man, what would Bruiser Arms carry? What would you carry? What did you carry? Hey, I want that exact setup. Guess what? You can buy it. All in one big, beautiful Pelican case. Anyways, check us out.
So cool.
Bruiser Arms, at Bruiser Arms, and Leif and I are going to be putting out some more content. Make sure you're following us there so you can be the first to hear about products and some of the training classes coming out. Also, if you want, you can send me a message on Instagram. I am going to be participating in a long-range shooting course that my buddy Tony Cowden is hosting. I'm going to be taking Aiden to that as his graduation gift.
Very cool.
It's about 90 minutes away from here. It's on June 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
There's a handful of spots left open for it. It's crazy how cheap the training is. Not like, I mean, the pricing is way less than it should be. For Tony's one of my buddies. He's a Green Beret. Dude's a stud. We taught shooting together, and that's how we developed this friendship. And what he does is awesome. I am not going to give you guys the link. Oh, actually, I can give it to you right now because before then, I'll actually get myself signed up with Aiden. I was like, bro, I would be so pissed if all the spots just all of a sudden
disappeared,
sold out.
Like he wouldn't make room for you.
But it's one of those things. Like, I don't know if you can, you know, but if I give you the link for this, we can put this also in the show notes.
100%.
Okay, cool. I'll do that. It'll be in the show notes. So just check it out. So with it's with Capable Inc., my buddy Tony. It is a intro to long range precision shooting. And so I just thought it'd be cool to take Aiden to that, to have somebody else like just teach us do it together.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. And you know what's cool is like if you're listening, you're like, oh, I've never done that. I would like to do it. Guess what? If you don't have any of the gear, for an extra $100, he literally will have every piece of gear there for you.
Really?
Dude, it's going to be awesome.
Not too bad.
So if you want to join us, it's going to be great. And he's going to be one of the guys that I'm going to have with us doing some courses through Bruiser Arms together.
That'd be cool.
I also been talking with some of my old team guy buddies that teach shooting and that have taught shooting, and we're going to get the band back together, dog. So, as always, I want to thank Origin and Jocko Fuel for just all the support they continue to give me and my family and any of the little things that I'm a part of, what they're doing, bringing manufacturing back to America, providing the best American-made jiu-jitsu gear, regular clothes that are 100% American-made here in America. Go to originusa.com, go to jockofuel.com to get your supplements, clean energy drinks. And, as we close it out, I just want to thank all of our listeners. And here's the deal. I know the situation that I have at Echelon Front is very unique, and 99.9999999% of the listeners out there are never going to have a situation like Echelon Front in front of you like I do. I know that. I understand that, and I'm very thankful of it. However, the mentor doesn't seek out the mentee. Go find those good leaders. Invest into building a relationship, and create a culture within your organization that is like what we have at Echelon Front. And what you do is you do it by reading Extreme Ownership. You do it by reading Dichotomy of Leadership. You do it by reading Leadership Strategy and Tactics. become part of the Extreme Ownership Academy, come to a muster, come to an FTX, watch Jocko's podcast, watch our YouTube videos. There are so many things that are out there that cost almost nothing, if not free, to give you the information and the knowledge to create the culture that you want to be a part of. I'm lucky. I'm fortunate. I know that. I'm highly blessed for what I have at Echelon Front with Jocko, Leif, Dave, Jamie, and the rest of the team. However, you can create the same thing. You can make excuses or you can make things happen. You can't do both. So go out there, put in the work. I hope that this episode has been a reminder for you to go out there, do the work that's needed, and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 33.